Three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and tonight I have a very special guest. David Snow is in the building. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Good to see you, brother.
Absolutely, same here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your openness to share your story and be a part of this interview. I know it's late out there, so yeah, extra special thanks for all my East Coast folks when they come on. I always feel a little bit bad because it is super late for y'all, but yeah, I just appreciate you making the time.
We're good.
All right, man. Well, for the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we do some intro questions, some warm-up questions just to set the tone. I threw in a couple icebreakers in there just to keep things a little bit light in the beginning, and then after all that, that's when we jump into the main interview where you start choosing a number between 1 and 34. Sounding good to you, David?
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, my very first question for you is, how have you been? It's been a crazy year, or a crazy couple of years. You've been doing well. You've been doing great. How you been, man?
Oh, I think everybody's kind of been on a roller coaster. If you haven't, man, tell me how you did it. Yeah, just like you, started a new job too about 4 months ago. As a business analyst. So new role to me, coming from the service industry, going into the tech industry. So that was a pretty big flip. Totally different work set. I get to work from home now, so which is really nice. Get to be with the family. So I'm trying to figure out how to create that harmony in my family, right? Between work, family life, trying to take care of yourself with fitness, trying to sleep, right? So figuring that out, crazy. I think everybody's kind of going through that right now. We've had the time to kind of do that right now. So taking advantage of it, taking the lessons that I can, doing that shadow work, man.
I got you. Well, congrats on the new job, man. Congrats on, trying to find that balance. I feel like I'm in the same boat with that as well. For me, it's not so much, well, I guess it is my time as well. But, doing this podcast, I've been trying to find a way to serve my community, doing something like this. And then I told you I had a new job, just recently. The one before it, it was there's a part of me that it hurts because it was a good paying job, but it wasn't filling my soul. So I had to kind of find something, which now in the mornings I work with students and kids, and yeah, so serving the youth in the morning, serving the community at night, it's made me feel that balance, which I think everybody needs in their life,
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned about your mixed media development. Is that your side hustle, or would you consider that your main thing?
Oh no, that's definitely, so that's that's been my vision since, I guess, man, probably since start of high school. Kind of learning about the first thing that pops into my mind is the Venus Project. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It was down in Florida.
I haven't. What's that?
It was, I can't remember the scientist's name, but man, that's kind of what sparked it. Ever since high school, I've always thought about, how can we actually create a community that kind of really helps itself, that is self-sufficient, that doesn't have this other layer of, kind of BS that we've created for ourselves, like with the economy, the way we've structured it kind of has that extra layer, you know what I mean? And we can kind of get rid of some of that. We got to keep some of the economics of how we're all going to make transactions happen. But I think some of it we can just take it as lessons, you know what I mean? Take it forward. And so mixed development is a big thing right now, especially in Asia. I lived in the Philippines for about 4 or 5 months, helping my aunt out there build a business. And what I saw was these mega structures, like SM Mall, Mega Mall, right? But they have people living in there, hundreds of people, probably thousands of people living in there. but it's a whole ecosystem. You really don't have to leave the mall. You can go watch the movie, you can go watch, or you can get food, right? You live up there. But we don't really have that in America. I'm not saying we want exactly that, but I think we can create beautiful spaces that are useful, that can lend to innovation, that can create new future jobs. I think a lot of people are going to be displaced by automation, that are going to be put out by just, robots, right? They can cook our food. They're going to be driving us around. So what happens to all those people? I'm trying to figure out, how do we make money as a creative, right? What can we do to provide value to society where we can still, afford the things we want, whatever that looks like in the future economy. So I'm thinking about youth development, if I can house my employees closer to their work, it's probably better for them. I have a 2-year-old, and I have one on the way. So it's like, if we can do on-site daycare, it just makes sense. There's programs like that already exist in the corporate world, but I think there's just some things that corporate America doesn't address yet, like the human side of how things kind of work on the inside. Because there's corporations, and I've experienced a corporation where I go in and they say, we really care about the company culture, but it's pretty toxic in there. And I think everybody knows, I could just say that, and everybody kind of has an idea of what happens. So trying to solve the human part of business is the hardest thing. And I, at some point, want to take a big crack at it. So that's like the whole idea behind mixed use spaces, trying to figure out a maker space. We got to feed the makers, you know what I mean? You got to house them. We got to create marketplaces, eco spaces. There's lots of smart city projects that are going on. There's lots of places that are just super deep into the IoT of stuff, like making smart homes, making smart cities, solar cities, all of that. There's no reason why we couldn't do that in America.
I hear you. Yeah. So
but who's gonna do it?
It sounds like you, man. It sounds like you and your team. But I was gonna say, so your vision, is that like a really big building, or is that a city, a small town? What are you envisioning?
So I've looked into it, and one of the most technologically advanced cities to be built in New Mexico is called CITE, C-I-T-E, and it's basically a ghost town. I'm not even sure if it's built yet, but it's projected to be just $1 billion. So I know it's 1 billion, but in the grand scale of things, it's the most advanced smart city in the US. And they're running all types of smart technology tests there. It's supposed to be able to house 35,000 people. So a place like that in New Mexico, the most advanced city where they're testing the most advanced tech, if it's 1 billion there, what if we did 250,000, just testing it out with 1,000 people, 1,000 employees, see what we can come up with, what kind of products we can make, what makes sense. For instance, this is a 4-year-old prototype. So me and a couple of my friends, we made solar powered backpacks. Solar panel up top, you open it up, easy enough, just 2 USB ports. All right, so you're on the go. We learned a lot from this. We learned a lot from making this and what it was like to deal with outsourcing in Asia, and it was crazy. So we learned a lot. We know we want to bring manufacturing back to America to control quality. So there's a lot of things in the works. It's all leading towards smart cities because it's, for instance, the solar backpack, that just makes sense for the area. We're in Georgia. There's the Appalachian Trails. Solar power is going to be the future. If we can if we can power at least people's smartphones, we don't got to do the whole Tesla solar roof thing, but we can power your phone. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some of the small stuff off of the grid and try to help out. Be
That's
like
what's up. Yeah.
Elon's Filipino cousin.
It might be good business for Elon to partner with
something like that, right?
AIPA, yeah.
Hey, he's got isn't his patents open source? We can make some little mini go-karts and solar powered go-karts.
Yeah, that sounds dope. Yeah, in a small little community, just going around, like golf carts or something.
Yeah, the golf carts, you just put the solar on top, right?
Yeah, that's dope, man. I had never heard of the site that you CITE.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because it sounds like it would be SITE, and it's the site of the future or whatever. But yeah, it makes me.
It stands for something. Let me look it up for you.
No worries. I wonder if we could visit, or is it like completely, secretive? No one can see it. Like, and do you know if it's privatized or if it's a government thing?
I don't know.
Yeah? Because New Mexico,
scientists, at least the scientists are living there, right? So that'd be dope if you could take a tour.
Yeah.
We should do it.
Try to find out. I gotta go over there and interview somebody. Try to find out what's going on. Yeah, actually, the previous job I told you about was I was working with one of the self-driving companies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's a crazy push out here in San Francisco, just because they feel like if they can tackle San Francisco, they could tackle any other city pretty easily.
Yeah, because self-driving, man. Are you working on the like the AI side of it?
No, I was a driver, man. I was there.
Oh, you were the driver.
I was operations. I was a driver, and then I worked in the warehouse a little bit. But yeah, driving it, just the experience of like, all right, you got to tell yourself to let go of the wheel and put your feet off the pedals and just let it do its thing. Then the first couple.
It's not supposed to be there. That's not supposed to be there. How's he gonna handle it? Sweating.
Oh, we go through some thorough testing before a driver's left alone by themselves in the vehicle. But yeah, like I know when I had my trainers with me, that's like everybody's stressed out. It's like because for the trainers, they don't even know, like they have to trust you first and then trust they trust the car. They don't trust the driver. And
that's funny.
Supposed to keep it safe, but safe means different for everybody too. So it was very interesting gig. And yeah, I think they're trying to push it like in Arizona right now. Phoenix, they already have like I think a 16 by 16 area of city blocks that they operate, and you could take driverless rides like an Uber out there already, and they're trying to push it out here in San Francisco by the end of the year, which honestly I don't think it's ready, but that's that's their thing, and money talks, so that's what they're trying to do.
They're trying to get real world data, or not. I guess you can get data, you can simulate that.
Yeah,
I guess it's just I don't even want to speculate.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know how much I can say before they come and try to come for me. But all right, man. Well, did you find out any more things about the CITE?
The Center for Innovation Testing and Evaluation. So the Center for Innovation Testing and Evaluation.
For sure. I mean, everything is in
the greatest stage for innovation. Yeah. I don't know if you can actually. So there's a city lab, city properties, city resources, testing and evaluating the next generation innovations, and site services. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can actually visit, but that would be dope. They have an address. They got a telephone number.
I'll give them a call tomorrow, and I'll let you know what they say.
Yo, that'd be sick. If you can interview them.
Who knows? Hey, and that was your lead. You told me about them, so I'll definitely give you a shout out.
We'll film it. I shot weddings for 5 years. We can go. We can do it. I'll bring all the gear.
That would be sick. That would be sick as hell, man. Let's see what happens. I'll give them a call first, and I'll let you know. I'll report back to you, see what they say. Before we go any further, man, let's get through these icebreakers real quick.
All right.
This first one is a one-word spelling bee. How do you feel about your spelling skills?
Oh, I'm terrible at spelling. Let's go.
All right. All right. Well, your word is gonna be Presbyterian.
Presbyterian. P-R-E-S. Presbyterian?
Presbyterian. Beterian.
Oh, B? Presbyt. B-E? B-E? Presbyt. No, B-I-T. I don't know, man.
It's all good.
B-E-T. I don't know.
You throwing in the towel?
Yeah, man, I don't know.
All right.
I suck at spelling. You know what I used to here's why I suck at spelling. This is my story I'm sticking to. When I was younger, back then it really wasn't it was frowned upon to basically speak your native language, right? In Carson, like if you were speaking Tagalog, you were a fob. You know, so my parents raised me to be English speaking. I grew up, they didn't really teach me Tagalog. I wish they would have, but they didn't because they thought that they should Americanize me. And so when I used to do my spelling words, I used to get them wrong, and my dad would whoop my ass. And you would think that the solution for me learning how to spell is to hold dictionaries out for like 2 hours on my arms, and if they dropped, I would get an arm slap on that arm, and somehow through osmosis I was gonna learn how to spell these words.
I know.
So I didn't really learn how to spell, but I did get strong.
You got strong, yeah. Maybe that was the real intention, you know. Maybe he just wanted you to get stronger.
Yep.
But damn, man, for spelling though, whew,
For spelling,
that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. I can see why you're like, fuck spelling. No, I don't get it.
yeah. Filipino Chinese there.
Yeah. That's a trip, man. Yeah, it's a similar boat. You know, I came here when I was 4, and my folks were like, they actually wanted me to know, but they kept like they kind of make me feel bad about it nowadays. But you know, when I was a kid, it wasn't like they brought it up to me like, oh, you should be speaking Tagalog, and so I understand it still. I don't know, how about you? You still understand it, or?
I can understand it, yeah. Like because they always spoke it, just not to us. I don't understand. I never even growing up understood why until, you know, they told us once we were older, like we want to Americanize you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand it. Of course, you can understand when they're mad and all that stuff. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just happy I could still understand if someone's talking shit about me behind my back. You know, it's like, oh, I know I can't trust you now. Like,
if they try to tell me instructions, I can kind of get it. I know if I'm talking to a call center Filipino, I'm like, thanks, Kuya. Thanks out there.
And they feel good. They're like, oh,
they do.
Yeah, thank you. You hear their accent go out fully afterwards too.
Yep.
They get super comfortable, which is dope. That's like part of the community. You know, I feel like every immigrant whoever feels that way kind of like calls back to their motherland, and like that connection just happens real quick. But you ever get that thing though where, like, at least for me, I feel like Americans don't see me fully American because I'm Filipino, and Filipinos don't see me fully Filipino because I grew up in America. You ever get that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
How you feel about that? Yeah.
It's just one of those, I don't know, like I've become such a creature of earth, of like just trying to understand people's perspectives, and like, okay, I can see why you're coming to that conclusion and why you're like that. So I used to try to educate them, and now I just kind of sit with them or make a joke out of it. Like try to open up the perspective. Like, in the Philippines they would steal me, you know, like, or they would try to sell me, or they tell me you're making my nose bleed. You know, like, you know. So Yeah. Even when I was out there helping my aunt grow those businesses, yeah, there was times where they knew that I was just the American guy. Like that's how they treated me.
Yeah, man. Nice.
And then out here, I don't know. In Georgia, I've had weird experiences actually. Like people think I'm Mexican. I've had people like try to be racist to me, but they'll start speaking Spanish.
And you're like,
I'll be quiet for. Now it was this one time in the gas station, right? So they were like following me, kind of just, and I don't know what I was doing at first. Probably just going in to grab a drink or something. And then I noticed that they were just kind of following me, so I did the whole like, let's see if they're following me. So, because I'm from California, I'm not used to that, you know. And so I did. I walked around one to where the drinks are, and then they were just like peeking. And then they did the whole what is it? How do you ask if you speak English in Spanish? I don't even know Spanish.
oh, habla español?
Yeah, habla español.
Yeah.
Habla español, and I did the. I actually speak English really well. That's exactly what I said.
Wow.
And they're just like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get a drink, and I'll be out of here.
Wow. That was from the workers of the.
It was a gas station, yeah. Yeah, it was a gas station. I was at one of the malls over here. This was like it was probably like 5 or 6 months ago. I was there with my daughter and my wife, and we were hanging out in the food court. Some lady just walks by me and sees that I have like, I don't know what it was. She looked down at me, she looked down at my daughter, and just gave me a, I'm like, whoa, I didn't do nothing. Just existing. Like, so that's like, I've had other experiences too in being in Georgia, but it's just weird. Yeah. I mean, like coming from California where it really is a melting pot, especially from Carson, it pretty much is like, I mean, even in the Bay, there's a ton of Filipinos, but it's really mixed. Out here, I guess they just didn't see a bunch of Filipinos. I don't know.
That's a trip, man. Yeah.
It is a trip. It's a trip, and even my wife got so heated. She was so mad for us. Like, gotta go.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Like, 2021? Like, what is going on?
I know. I mean, that's some of the things that definitely, you know, make me scratch my head. Is like, you know, still that feeling of like, you know, people feeling like they're better than other folks, and I feel like that shift is happening. Hopefully, I'm not too sure. I guess it really depends on which side wins, and you know, like where the influence is going. But I do hope this new generation, like your daughter, and you know, the one coming up, they're going to be the ones that kind of help change that narrative, or like bring that enlightenment to everybody. So
there's a collective awakening. You could feel it.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, man.
I have hope, you know, like as much as it's in our face right now, and because it's in our face, you might be experiencing it, right? Because they're just upset for whatever reason. They just want to take it out on you at that moment. But overall, people are okay with each other. Like, we're at an all-time high for peace. As far as like, you get people in a room with each other, they're not trying to fight. Even if they do have conflicting political views, a lot of people are willing to sit there and talk about it. So that's if you get them in one-on-one. If you get them in a group, they'll start, you say one like tagline or a buzzword.
Oh, they're coming. Yeah, they come. If they feel like they outnumber you, oh, they're coming for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a guy who talked about that. The guy who actually, man, let me find out his name for you.
Yeah.
Jean-Michel. No. Who's the name? Venus Project. Venus Project founder. Not Lorenzo Perez, but there's another guy. And it's down in Florida. You might actually be able to. I know you can visit that one. It's like they figured out the whole aquaponics. They figured out how to create like cities in a certain fashion that it just kind of makes sense as a resource-based economy.
Sick. Yeah.
Let me see. Jacques Fresco.
John Fresco?
Yeah, JACQUE, and then Fresco, FRESCO.
Jacques Fresco, man, what a name.
Yeah, but he's like a futurist. Check out his project, the Venus Project in Florida. Super cool about once I started learning about resource-based economies and thinking, oh, that's possible. Like we can switch to that if we wanted to. And people just think that's way too radical. Like, capitalism's the best. And I'm like, I bet some blend of it's the best. Like, I bet if we take the best of everything we've learned from 0 to 2021, like we can come up with something pretty nice.
Yeah,
but people think that's just too crazy.
I think they think it's crazy because they want that to happen like in a snap. When change is definitely like we work at it, and I mean I don't know about you, I consider myself a pretty impatient person sometimes, and I think I'm not the only one. I feel like that's kind of the wave that right now that we're currently in, since a lot of things that are in our faces like instant gratification type stuff. So we have to break that habit first, just so folks don't feel so discouraged or feel like it's impossible, because it's not. But it's gonna take some time, and it might not be us, but like for the next generation after, which we kind of need to do, because with everything with going on with the climate and social issues, we kind of have to make those gradual changes start now, or it's just gonna get worse a little bit. But yeah.
The whole climate thing is crazy.
The climate thing, man, and I don't think like we're aware of how bad they tell us it is, but what are they not telling us that can make it even seem a lot worse?
Are you into do you follow space weather at all?
I don't. And please drop some knowledge on me.
So scientists have been kind of bickering about the cycles of the sun and whether or not that it correlates with like a quiet. Well, they know we have a solar maximum period and a solar minimum period where it's kind of just like either the sun's pushing out a bunch of energy or it's not. And they think it's about somewhere like a 12,000 year cycle. They've been kind of bickering about the sun's effect on our climate. And it just makes sense. Like, if everything is, let's say, the energy from the sun has to have some kind of effect on the earth. You know what I mean? And it's pretty hard when you're trying to think about it, when you break it up into little small pieces like they're doing, and it makes it hard to understand when they're like, the sun. Let me try to think of an example real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Because it gets deep. Like, what they're saying is that the sun could release something called a CME, which is a coronal mass ejection, and it's basically just gonna punch a bunch of its energy out. It could be facing Earth, it could face another planet, right? It just wherever it shoots off from. The issue is we're in what's called like a season of CMEs, and if that happens and it happens to be facing Earth, we could see an event where, I don't remember the exact date, but the event's called the Carrington event. And what it did was it pushed enough power through all the wires that back then the technology was telegraphs. So if you're wearing headphones, you got shocked. The power went through it, those wires caught fire. And so every copper wire melted. They even knew that the CME was coming, so they unplugged everything. And there's transcripts of them on the radio saying, "Yeah, it's unplugged. It's still working."
So we don't know when this is pointing towards Earth and like when everything can kind of just catch fire.
Yeah, so everything electronic, right?
Oh my God.
Everything electronic. And they're saying, you know, it's not worth super stressing over, because that's an event that, you know, like it happens. You used to live in California, you worry about an earthquake every day. Like, not really. But I've been through the Northridge earthquake, and that sucked. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, this one's supposed to be a pretty big event. So this is like, there's a lot of things that are going on with that. It's pretty deep. I'm trying to unpack it right now in my head to explain it.
Thanks for breaking it down in terms where a normal person like me can understand.
Yeah. So from my understanding, the Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker. And that's why, I don't know if you've noticed, but they're saying that the sun used to be a little bit more yellowish in tint because we had a stronger magnetic field. Now, if you go out, especially in the LA sun, you see it. Like, it's a little bit more white. It feels like it's hitting you a little bit harder because we don't have so much protection there. And if that's why they're saying, like, they're having the big heat wave, because that's just where the sun rays are coming in. And there's stations being set up to monitor a pole shift. So the magnetic poles are shifting, and that's gonna shift our equator. So they're talking about big events like that. And I'm like, well, they're bickering about, you know, the timeline, and they're trying to figure out when it's gonna actually happen. And they're debating if it's gonna happen as soon as 2030. Well, we're supposed to already be in the period. From 2010 to 2050 is the climax. And so within the climax, something's supposed to happen, you know? People who are religious are calling it the second coming. People in the science community are just saying it's a natural event. We've done it 10 other times, and there's evidence to show that. So it's like, well, if this is the natural order of nature, then I gotta get prepared. Like, we're the descendants of the survivors who survived it the other times.
Yeah.
So we, like, yes, we're comfortable with the lives that we build. We have the technology, we're used to this comfort, but nature doesn't care about all this. The sun doesn't care that we got this going on.
They're like, you guys gotten too comfortable. We need to turn back time a little bit for everybody. Yeah. Yo, man. So with these 40 years, it can happen. Or
yeah.
I guess it's like that, like, because I can imagine the sun being so big, and if one of those it wasn't EMC.
CME.
Yeah. If it like popped out on one end, it would be a really small chance, right? I could only imagine it had to be like almost a pinpoint, you know, CME for it to.
Oh, they're pretty big.
Oh, they're pretty big. Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Like, okay, so if you look at the sun, let's say the sun is this big.
Yeah.
The Earth is like, the Earth is like the pen tip.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
So if it throws one out, it can cover like a big area.
Oh, never mind then. Never mind.
Yeah.
I thought we were safe, but.
So I know there was a close call like last week, actually. It was on the west facing limb, and it wasn't facing Earth, but it popped out, and you can see it like wrap around the sun, and so we caught like the edge of it, but it didn't do anything to us. So yeah, they're saying that this is the moment. Like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be when our magnetic field is weak, which is right now.
I got you.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna try to be an optimist and say if that flare happens or the CME happens, it means that we're all gonna evolve into like these super beings with powers or something. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a different effect, and we all.
I hope, man. I hope
we all become sun people, you know.
So that's one of two events that's happening right now.
Oh, what's
So
up?
one is the CME, and the second one I briefly mentioned, which is the polar shift. So the polar shift is happening regardless of if we get. They're just saying that that's very possible within the next, let's say, 20 years. But the polar shift is happening for sure. And what that's going to do, like I said, it's gonna move the equator. So I have like a map. I can send it over to you of what's kind of going to happen. They're saying that once it does happen, we're going to go into what was kind of like the little ice age. I don't know if you heard about that, like in 1770, I think, was the last little ice age. So they're saying we could go into one of those. It could last, I think it was like 30 years or 40 years or something like that. And because it's gonna move and then it's gonna switch, or it's gonna go back. But in that period, basically they said it's happened a bunch of times, and just the water, I mean, because of everything's gonna move, right? You're just a big ball of mass. So things are gonna shift, and the water is gonna cover a lot of Florida, a lot of California, a lot of other places, coastal areas, and even Georgia. Like it's pretty much gonna be the mountains. There's some people who call it the new Valley of the Sun, because once the sun becomes white, and there's like prophecies of it. There's all different kinds of references to what's happening right now, and that's crazy, man. So climate change, yeah, like that's how they pose it to us, right? And it really is just climate, because they used to call it global warming, but that meant like that kind of came with that we were doing it, that we were doing the global warming. And then they're like, well, yeah, it's more like climate change, because the whole thing is just kind of shifting.
It's nature. It's Mother Nature.
Yeah. But we also know how to control weather. So it's like, how is that going to play in? How is our technologies going to play into what Mother Nature's doing? And you know, what are we going to do when the time comes? The people who know, they know something. The people who are ready to do something are going to do something. We're just going to have to, you and I are going to have to figure it out, you know?
What are we creatives going to do, man? You got to get creative.
We're those hieroglyphics, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
These are our artifacts of what was. So
I mean, I think that's what I consider the podcast, right? It's kind of like a messages, or that's the interesting thing about hieroglyphics to me, is like, you know, those folks were trying to tell us a story, or trying to tell us, give us some information, but we only understand it the way we can here. And what if we're interpreting them like completely the wrong way? You know?
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. Man, well, thank you for dropping all that knowledge on me, man, and all the listeners out there. And we'll be, I mean, I'll be thinking about it, because we just had we mentioned about the earth. You talked about the earthquake, and you know, being in California, like I basically just sit around and really wait and like count the seconds of how long I'm feeling the shake before I actually do something. Because you know how some folks will be like, oh shit, they'll run out. But you know, every time, my whole life, it's been, I'll sit here, okay, look at everything, nothing's falling, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's okay.
Yeah. I can live through this one. I'm good. Y'all good? Y'all good? You guys feel that? No, I slept through it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
it's gonna be the same thing. You get hit by the sun, you're just gonna call the people you love to see if they're all right, because it's gonna be tragic as hell. Like, there's no denying that, because they're saying like, okay, a fifth of the world is going to get scorched 30 seconds, and there's nothing you can really do about that but to just look at it coming at you. And you know what's messed up on the video that I was watching, it on the animation, it just happened to be on the Philippines, and I was like, why
I gotta be there, man?
Why you gotta do that?
God damn. No, that's like, I don't know. I kind of hope it's the same thing with the earthquake, knock on wood, where, you know, I've been growing up every year. They telling me, oh, it's coming. This is the year. The big one's coming. And my whole life they've been telling me that. So, I hope it's
30 years overdue.
And I'm like, fuck. I am curious. You heard about the whole thing about the theory that we aren't the most advanced civilization that's been on Earth, and there was one that was more advanced, like prior to like the dinosaurs.
Like Atlantis or like the Anunnaki or.
I mean, wait, what was that second one?
Anunnaki.
I don't know about that one. You got. I'm gonna ask you to explain that one to me. But the one where like, how can I describe this? I had a homie kind of tell me about it, and one of the examples he gave me was like the Amazon rainforest, right?
Okay.
The soil out there is not native to South America, and it was brought over there from like people from Europe, so. Yeah, like that's unexplainable, and how like the way the trees are out there, they're all in geometric shapes. Like the way they're planted are in triangles. So it's like this grid of triangles, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, who did that? Right? That was purposeful. Like I don't think that was by random. So. But we don't have the data. We don't have the information of how all that stuff happened. But
like the chambers of the Egyptian pyramids, like.
Oh yeah, and the geometric shapes in there too, and how like. There's this whole thing about how the Egyptians just found the pyramids. It just happened to be where they were because the stuff that they put in there doesn't match the walls. Like the walls are all geometric shapes, but then you come in with like rounded shapes of our tombs and stuff. So it's like they just found it and they're like, oh, let's go use this as a tomb or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you've heard some of those kind of theories, but
as far as like ancient civilizations, oh yeah, I'm super into that stuff.
Yeah, man, like
because if we think we're intelligent, right? But only for really our time period. And some of us know a little bit more than others, but really none of us really know what's going on, right? We really don't. As far as like advanced civilizations, I think that they harness the world's power differently than us, right? We might have figured out how to do electronics. Maybe they figured out how to harness other different powers of the world, They understood maybe the geomagnetics of it and took advantage of it, right? They figured out just energy different. So it might have been just different technologies, maybe super advanced, but not like ours. Just different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like magnets to me, magnets are magic, but like, we only use them for like certain things. But damn, I think there's a lot of potential in magnets, but we're just not, focused on that.
That's everything. Magnets, and then how they used water, how they understood the atmosphere, all that stuff could have played a part. But it's not within our imagination, I don't think, because we weren't in those time periods.
Yeah.
How did they do all the stuff that they did?
Dude.
Was it aliens?
Well, I mean, who are we to say, right? Like, and aliens too. Someone mentioned to me, like, what if we don't know what to look for? So how could we know where aliens are if we're not looking for the right thing? They could be right in our face.
Yeah, they could be, because they could be a fourth dimensional being just right here looking at us, like
taking notes, and like, all right, day whatever on Earth.
This
like
this was real silly.
Yeah, man, and like, as far as the records, right? Like the stuff that we have to connect. So I'm thinking, or my homie was telling me, like, the Ice Age or whatever happened only really on certain parts of the planet. Like you were talking about, the solar flare might just happen, 30% of the Earth. So then if the Ice Age happened and like there was this part of the Earth that was still intact, the people were still cool and they were still living their lives like normal, but they just didn't know on the other side, it was like, oh man, they're getting fucked up out there. So like, to me, more like ancient civilizations that we have more information on. Like I would say China's one of them. They have like those ancient scrolls that, and like they're
because they walked on the ice sheet.
Yeah, and they might.
It says bridges.
they might have like documents that still like, you know, have recollect, but we don't. I mean, I don't know. I can't read it, and I know the government out there is a little more tight knit, so maybe they're not just putting out the information, but like, yeah, I don't think China's the only one.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
I wish they would.
And that's us like needing to get on the same page, like you know, you're talking about being more aware of like being connected to the whole. Yeah, like I think we're all world citizens, but we seem to, you know, try to stay separated for some reason. I mean, there's a lot of cultural stuff that keeps us separated, but
yeah,
I think
we're still very we're still very attached to like our lizard brain or our dog brain, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like that just our barbaric self back then.
Animal instincts, you know.
Animal instincts. Yeah, we still have a lot of it. I think we could definitely see. I think a good example is like little comedians, where it was okay to say like certain types of jokes during certain time periods, but then they don't age really well because of the time period is different. So yeah, it's just different.
That's interesting, man. That's interesting. I gotta let you know, man, we got about 10-15 minutes left into the pod, but and we haven't really touched any of the questions, but no, don't feel bad. I definitely appreciate the times where a guest can come on and just, you know, we'll shoot the shit. You dropped a lot of knowledge on me today, so I definitely appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, we can always just rap.
Yeah. And yeah, for the folks out there who don't know, it's the first time we ever meeting. So, you know, it just goes to show, meet more strangers out there. You never know, you know, what could come up. But I did, if you don't mind, I do want to tackle these warm-up questions. I'll forget about the riddle, but my first, I guess my first question for you in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
That the audience know about me, that I'm just a creative trying to figure it out for other creatives. Like, I think I'm really just trying to figure out how to set ourselves up so that we can make it just like how business people make it. Like, why is it so okay to like throw your life into an unknown business degree, but you can't be like, I'm gonna be an artist, and then there's no real support, or like in society, it's just like you're gonna be broke.
Like you're crazy.
No, it's gonna suck. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that because there's just no infrastructure to support it. It's all like, yo, you got to pay me $70,000 before I can try to help you with your career, right? It's not, yo, get that canvas. Let's try to do like 100 of your paintings so you can figure out your style. Go take 1,000 photos of that flower so you can figure out that lens. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go talk on that mic so you can hear yourself, so you can hear your voice and get over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's what it really takes, right? To be a creative, you gotta like hit those walls and those hurdles, but have somebody to just be like, yeah, you can do it, and just guide you along.
And not make it such a negative thing, right? Like you said, like, yeah, you want to be an artist and they just laugh in your face, or anything creative. Yeah.
Because you're gonna do it in business school too. Like, okay, I'm gonna be a big time trader. What do you gotta do? You're about to lose some money for that hedge fund. You know what I mean? It's all the same, but for some reason, it's just so bad when you want to be an artist. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to make it good with content creation, but then the economics of it just it doesn't feel good.
Oh man.
You know? And it's not there. It's not for the creator yet.
No,
so I'm trying to create that, man.
I'm with it.
So I want them to know that I'm trying to make it for the creator so that you can actually live your family life and do creative stuff. Like, why isn't that a thing?
Yo, man, if there's anything I can do to help you out with this, I am all for it. Yeah, because I know too many artists who feel who basically don't feel supported at all. And like, you kind of have to keep yourself going. You got to stay motivated. You got to be okay of being poor if you really want to be creative. And if that's who you are, and the world's telling you can't be that because you're not ever gonna get anywhere. It's a
But
struggle.
how many maker spaces are there? How many co-worker spaces are there?
Oh, co-working? There's plenty. There's plenty of co-working
Right?
spaces.
And
yeah.
a lot of them are empty.
They are.
Why aren't there maker spaces? Why aren't they investing in maker spaces? They're the ones who create the content. They're the ones who market for the enterprises.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm trying to do it, man. Like if they or whoever doesn't want to put the money towards it, I guess I gotta hustle until I make something to put it towards it.
I feel that. You are not alone, man. Remember that. If I can't do much, but if there's anything I can do to contribute to that vision, let me know.
Your voice.
Hey, if you could find a use for it, I'm more than ready to do something. My second question for you is, if someone were to pay you a tribute, how would you like to be honored? So if I was going to tell myself today I'm going to do something in honor of David, what kind of act would you like done?
I want you to go out and just have fun, man. Like, whatever. Here's how I define fun. If you can lose yourself in it, like you kind of lose track of time, you find yourself just having like real fun. I think that's the epitome of like life, right? Being able to lose yourself, and when I play with my daughter, lose myself, right? Whatever that is to you. That before having a family, it was doing flow arts. I do like meteor hammer and rope dart. Being in that flow space, I do the fire dance. Like finding my space, I would want somebody to honor me by finding that for themselves. Because if you can do that, if you can find your flow state, you connect with yourself completely different. So
yeah.
It's not ultimately about me. Maybe that's the Libra in me, but it's not ultimately about me, man. It's about you.
I hear you, man. And now we know. I guess in your honor, we'll all try to find our flow state, which is hard. If you're not taking enough risks, if you're not making enough mistakes, it's a hard thing to find sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
That's why it's important.
And my last question for you in the warm-up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
The first number that came to my head was 6.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, yeah.
Because I've come into situations where like you're not just, well, basically your whole is tested, right? And I come out just completely different. And as a very analytical person, I guess I don't want to go above 6 because I think that that next rung will get me to an 8 or a 9. So knowing myself, I feel like I have a good grasp. I'm only 35. I feel like I'm young as hell still. I feel like I got a lot to contribute to the world. So, but know myself enough to say I am who I am. Like, I don't think I'm there yet, man. I think I still work through a lot of shit that I went through growing up. We all are. So I'd say I'm a strong ass 6.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I consider myself a 5. Just because I, like we talked about balance. I feel like that's part of my balance. And I guess, it's not that I don't know anything about myself. And, I just turned 31 this year. And like, I don't know if like crossing that threshold for you had the same effect, but for me it felt like, you know, a switch kind of turned on. I don't know, I mean, everyone says there's a switch to turn on, but maybe it's all in our heads. And reaching 30 just made me feel like, oh, I'm old as fuck now, and I can't keep telling myself, I can wait. Now it's like, nah, I can't wait no more. I gotta be doing something. So yeah, that's how it's kind of affected me. But yeah, 5 is a good number for me because I think there's way a lot more to learn. And yeah, I just want to give myself that space too. But I know there's folks out there, you know, who feel like they know themselves a little bit more. It's always just interesting to hear. It's one of my favorite questions, you know, the self-awareness question. And a little follow-up to that is, what would you say is your favorite thing about your personality?
Overly optimistic, man. I found, I didn't know how rare it was to be optimistic, actually optimistic. And I think that plays a lot into my analysis of things, where, you know, a lot of people, I'll tell you this, snowboarding, I've been snowboarding since I was like 11 or so. And if you go backcountry and you think, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, probably gonna hit a tree. But if you're going down and you're like, just follow the path, follow the path, follow the path, follow the path, right? You'll most likely just see past. It kind of opens up and slows down for you. And that's because I've tried to be optimistic, even about my ability. Even if I know like this challenge is probably gonna whoop my ass, but if I can try to do it the way I can do it and try to be my best at it, at least I'll learn something. Maybe I'm just super optimistic like that. I try to look at like the best in people. But yeah, I think that's probably the best characteristic. I'm 35, I gotten beaten down too, but I try to keep that optimism up because people need it. I know that if I put out a genuine smile to somebody, like they receive it well. So I try to do it.
I mean, I think people feel that energy, you know,
no
matter what. And yeah, like there's fake optimism out there, right?
Yeah, you don't want to do that for yourself. That's toxic.
Yeah, but there's something about like really believing in it and really, you know, like you said, you analyze things, and then, but it's still, you still can see the bright side, and that's it's rare. More rare than we probably realize, because I guess when we're kids it feels like we're all optimistic. It's a lot less, but then as you get older you can definitely see
get beat down.
Yeah, man, that's life happens. And yeah, one of my sayings is you either get better or you get bitter, you know, or you grow bitter or grow better. And yeah, like for the folks who get bitter, it's tough to see, because like you kind of want to help them, and the best thing we can do is pretty much just give that genuine smile or share that energy. But you know, ultimately it's going to be up to the person to really make that mind shift for themselves.
Yeah, because they got to see it for themselves. Something powerful is the truth can't be told, it can only be realized. And so it's, yeah, you can tell somebody all day, like, look, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. Like, you'd be so much happier once you do this. But until they actually do it and they're like, oh yeah, I actually feel like I should have done this.
Oh, and sometimes it's ourselves. Sometimes it's ourselves telling us, like, you know, you need to do this, until it gets to that point. But yeah, I do want you to choose at least one number. Where would you like to go? Easy, medium, or hard?
Let's go with the hard one.
Okay.
Let's go with 24.
24. Would your teenage self be proud of you?
Well, my teenage self, like 15, 16, what were we talking? 8?
Let's go 16. 16 is a good number.
Where was I at 16? 16, I was a professional dancer.
At 16?
Yeah, I was doing Polynesian dancing. I was running a yeah, I was in like 3 different groups basically, and one in Carson that we ran. It was called Poirava, so the Black Pearl in Tahitian. And then I went to another studio that I originally learned from, which was Te Kurio Nui in Costa Mesa. And then the owner of that group, his name was Tuko. His brother owned a really big group in Anaheim area. And that was Hiti Aotera. And so at that time, I was basically dancing my entire, like that was my career at that point. I was doing fire dancing and Tahitian dancing. Doing like, I used to get paid like $500 for 3-4 minutes of fire dancing.
Wow. Yeah. That was huge money too. Back in 16. Like, I keep doing this. I'll do this every day.
16, I was. I think we also competed in Hawaii and Hawaii, Honolulu, and dude, that year we swept every category, got first place. So 16 versus me now.
I mean, yeah. Would you have ever imagined that at 16 to be where you are now?
To be honest, I think I'd be really proud of my mindset now, but I thought I'd be a lot further. Only because back then I was at my, I was surrounded by great people. I was surrounded by people who were doing big things, and I thought I was on that trajectory. And you just find out, being an entrepreneur, man, it is not a straight line. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you know. It really depends on, sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's timing. A lot of factors go into it. Like solar backpack, that's an awesome idea. But the mechanics of how it was working out just didn't make sense. The partnership fell apart. Like there's all kinds of factors. The best idea doesn't always win, right? And so, I'd be super proud of who I've developed myself, all the work that I had to do to try to have this mindset. Yeah, man, I'd be super proud of that. Something I wouldn't be proud of in my 16, like there's always going to be those moments where you just don't show yourself the best of yourself. Some parts of my Navy career, just being a stupid sailor, you know what I mean, like around the world. So, yeah, man, I've had an interesting experience as far as like walking through this life. But the mindset thing is the biggest, because I feel like if I didn't do that type of work, if I wasn't willing to go through all that hard crap, then I don't think once I reached that success that I think I should have had by now, I don't think I would have appreciated it properly, because that's just like that. Even just saying that out loud sounds like entitlement. Like I should have had that. You know what I mean? Ooh, I should have been there by now, right? As if I deserved it. So it's you just got to take it, and like Steve Jobs says, once you look back, it'll make sense. And every time I've done that, it's like, okay, yeah, it does make sense why I had to do all that. So
I hear you, man. I thought I was gonna retire by the age of 30. Back then, I was like, I'm gonna be good.
I got this opportunity.
Never letting it go, all that stuff. But yeah. Hear you. And we made it to the concluding portion of 34 questions. But before we get to the final questions, I've been doing this new thing with my guests. It's called the 34th mantra, where I will ask you to fill in this little phrase, which is, I am, I can, I will. And then you fill in those blanks. So I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. How would you fill that out for yourself?
I am light. That's most natural one that comes to me. What's the second one?
I can.
I can. I can do damn near anything.
And the last one's I will.
I will be willing to take things as they come. That's kind of how I take it.
For sure. And if you ever need a reminder, now you got yourself a soundbite of yourself, kind of like letting you know. And then, yeah, moving on to the final questions, man. This next one is from my previous guest. Shout out to Kelly for your question. And she would like to know, what do you believe you can do to achieve world peace?
To achieve world peace? I think in order to achieve world peace, we'd have to bring people to a place of understanding. I think it's been seen in studies that the reasons why we fight are mostly just because of misunderstandings, or because you have something that I want, right? So how do you achieve world peace? It's not necessarily give everybody what they want, but you got to get everybody to a place of understanding, because we can try to respect each other. Like, we can have all the different religions, we can have all different viewpoints. In America, we don't necessarily kill each other over that stuff, right? Like, some people do, but the majority of us don't. So world peace is going to mean Elon's got to get his Starlink up so that we can all get connected, right? So we can start talking to each other. Jeff Bezos needs to do all the freaking rockets so we can start traveling the world faster, so we can have commerce. Richard Branson needs to do the Hyperloop so that he can make those super fast trains, and it's basically a conveyor belt around the world. Who else is doing big stuff? Like, all of that needs to come together so that we can just basically start to meet each other. Social, this is great, but we lose a lot of the human connection, right? You need to be with somebody, you got to feel somebody's energy. And we've got to be able to interact, because how else you can't really learn empathy. I don't feel like you can learn the full force of empathy through a computer screen. So we got to create those spaces, and that's why I think step one to world peace is these maker spaces, because most people are happy when they're creating art, and we can come to an understanding. It's a mutual language, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, you'll be playing your role, and we all got to play our part, to achieve it. So yeah, I feel it, man.
That's the Libra in me.
How much weight do you put into astrology? Like, if you were gonna put some weight into it?
So it's interesting. So that question is gonna be heavy. It's loaded, because sometimes I feel like, okay, if we're just energy, if we're just vibrations of atoms deciding to stick together and make the David, right? What can affect that? If we're all just energy, what can affect that? Am I just affecting it because of my thoughts, because of my actions? How am I keeping it together? How are you keeping it together? There's just so much to it. So state the original question.
I was asking, like, how much weight would you put
to astrology?
Yeah.
So I got really into like birth charts and all that stuff, and looking into it. So knowing your exact birth date, your exact birth time, and how that correlates and all that stuff. So knowing your whole have you seen your birth chart? Have you done that?
I've looked it up, and I've heard your rising sun, and different parts of it. And I know I've like checked it up on the site and kind of read through it. But if you have any resources as far as like maybe a site that you feel is more, more credible, feel free to share so I can check it out. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
Here's my thing on it. Like, if I want to believe in astrology, that means that I believe that because of the way that it was aligned, at some point had an effect on my personality, on my stardust, right? On my frequency of how I'm gonna play out, how my song is gonna resonate. And if that's to be true, then I have to accept that whatever is happening currently, cosmically even, is going to affect me as I go on too. So it can't just be my birth chart is set, right? Mm-hmm. It has to also be that current events and what's happening in the present is going to also affect me. So, like, how much weight do I give to it? Some. I would say that when I read descriptions of a Libra, I definitely knew when I was underdeveloped, and I tried to look at those areas and develop myself. And so I think it served as a good, guide.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know necessarily that it's 100% true. I also have my parents who are like, yeah, if you don't ask permission to go past this tree, you're gonna end up with wards. You know what I mean? Like, so there's superstition in the back of my head. There's religion. Just to give you a super brief background of like my religious journey, or I'll call it my spiritual journey. My dad was a very bad Mormon. My mom was a pretty good Catholic. And so I grew up in that household, and I was like, yeah, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to every church. And I ended up doing that starting from when I was like 16. Yeah, I told them like, yo, I don't know what's what. I think I'm gonna go atheist, and I'm gonna go to every single church and find out what's what. And I went through this whole thing. But now I ultimately landed where I'm at now, which is pretty much like a universal mindset. I've kind of taken from all of the experiences that I've learned from. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
How much weight do I put to it? I don't even know, man.
Yeah. No worries. I mean, I think there is some weight to it, because someone told me it's like one of the oldest things that people have studied is the stars and how it affects us. So there has to be some weight to it. I just don't like how, when it starts trying to be about money or influence or, any of that extra stuff. But at its purest, I think there is some weight to it. Same with you, man. To me right now, God and the universe, synonymous. If I'm speaking to God, I'm speaking to the universe. And so dope. No, like it's always good to meet somebody else on the same frequency,
Yeah, man.
When it comes to it.
You step aside, you start to see the patterns, man. You start to see it, and you're like, I think it just kind of makes sense. When I was in the deepest part of my atheism of like, there is nothing, I'm gonna die and it's zero. Somebody threw up like a thing about the multiverse at me. It was like, yo, you need to look at particle physics. You need to look at quarks and what these things are, and it'll kind of shift, and you'll start to see the math of the universe and like that there might be something there too. I mean, even if it is 50-50, at least you'll feel better about your journey and you're not so angry.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'll look at it.
Man. I'm sorry, we got like 5 minutes now. Okay. But I did want to, you talked about the multiverse, and I have this theory where I wish like some NASA folk or some scientist comes to tell me like, their perspective on it. But they say our universe is ever expanding, right? Like it just keeps going. I think, however, when it comes to parallel universes, the multiverse, what if it's like a mirror where we do have ends and they just reflect off each other? So it looks like it's forever expanding, but really there is some kind of edge to it, which, we don't know and we may never know. But
well, they say that there is some kind of edge to our galaxy or to our universe. And yeah, who knows? We won't ever be able to actually reach it, right? It's just too far.
Yeah.
Also, same thing with time. Think about time. Like, what's the probability of time ending?
I mean, what was time before we called it time? You know, like, yeah. Man, because even if we're done, it's not like time is done. But
what happens if time just like stops right now? What do we just? What happened?
Are we all just like waiting? We're like, should we keep going or should we stop when time stops? You know?
Somebody put another quarter in, like what?
Man, man, well, we made it to the final question. I do have another one, but since we're running out of time, I'll just DM you and get your answer for it. It's basically, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 questions? So feel free to shoot me that in a message, just so I'll have it ready for the next person. But my last question for you, man, the question that ties everything together is, 500 years from now, our descendants are watching this video. What would you like to tell them?
500 years from now. Yeah. Somewhere along the lines of it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary to do all the I almost want to do between the message to the whole society, or even just to us. Like 500 years, I feel like I'll see myself. We're gonna be immortal in like 30 years.
Shit. If we are there. And honestly, I'd be like, okay, well, if we're immortal, there is no excuse for any of us not to do anything with our lives at that point. We better be doing something. I feel like, some people give up because they know there's an end. And it's like, what's the point? But if we're immortal, then there's a much greater purpose for us after that. We got to figure out overpopulation at that point.
I would just go interplanetary. Send them off to other planets.
Interplanetary. Yeah, I like the sound of that. I like the sound.
What would I tell myself in 500 years? I would say just take care of yourself. Or be patient. The human side of things is weird. Like you gotta give yourself some kind of grace, because you don't always have somebody there to tell you how to get to the next best step, right? You might know for yourself what a step is, but try to be willing to listen to other people for the next best step.
I hear you. And any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here?
I appreciate you. I appreciate your mind, man. I see where you're going. I appreciate your efforts towards making a community we're having an open, honest conversation, and that's a great thing. So. Right on,
man. Right on. And, likewise, definitely appreciate the energy you brought. And, hey, man, like you said, we had a great conversation, two strangers just linking up. But yeah. I hope we could do it again. We didn't really get to go through it all, but if you
we'll do it again. We'll go through the meat of the other stuff.
No worries. There's no rush. I'm just glad you're able to be a part of this project journey. I'm trying to bring everybody together, and my whole goal, it's not my only goal, but one of the aims is to get that Guinness World Record of most people interviewed, and that means I'm going to have that list of all the folks that came on, and you will be a part of that list.
What's the number?
Dude, there isn't one. I looked it up on the website. Like, no one's claimed it. No one has that as the most ever. Or so in my head, it's just like, I just gotta I gotta do it.
You're setting the bar.
Provide the proof, and just be like, well, can anybody match this right now?
Yeah.
But yeah. So since it's not official, it's not out there. I'm like, all right, well, I could go for something here.
That's dope.
We'll see, man. But for the folks out there, I want to thank y'all too for tuning in. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or watching on YouTube, appreciate your time as well. If you liked it, please like it. If you loved it, subscribe and share it. Would be dope. Remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. All right, man.